Hi everybody, I'm Kathleen the Donkey, and I would like to talk to you today about my friend Nancy Price. Nancy has been my friend since third grade, and she is wonderful. I'm going to read to you from my book, Conversations with Donkey, A Bipolar Journey, about my friend who I call Nap. She is amazing. She is like me and not. She is complex. I was a twerpy kid. I am not sure what she saw in me. I seem to remember coming down to the creek one day, and there she was doing her Nancy thing, fishing, catching crawdads, etc. I remember the early days and hanging out with her. I remember her catching a fish one time, and we couldn't get it off the hook. It was awful. She told me to look away, and she took care of it. I've always remembered that. I took it to mean that she was more mature than I, and I was grateful for her grit. We spent many summers at that creek. It was heaven. I was given to silliness and games, sometimes when it wasn't appropriate. I remember a game I liked to play with her I called Clue, totally stealing from the board game. I would write up a series of clues with puzzles of a sort in them. Then Nancy would go on the search for whatever was at the end. She was always so willing to hang around while I did things. Nancy would hang around when I did stupid stuff, but didn't join in. I was called a fool more than once. Once I was called a fool when I decided to wrap a Christmas bulb in wire and try to plug it in. It snapped and popped. I'm lucky that's all it did. Sometimes I think she was with me when I would mix things in my chemistry set and then run. I'm still laughing at her calling me a fool. I was such a fool. I was not perceptive. My parents liked to remind me that my cousin Donna was more perceptive than I. I would hear this several times. I wasn't quite sure what to do with the information. One time for my birthday they got me luggage. I think it was my 14th. Anyway, they just put it in the garage. They knew I would never notice it. Nancy was perceptive. She could lay in grass and stare at a bug forever. It was fascinating to be with her. Nancy knew stuff about all kinds of things. She knew about science and told me interesting things. I admired her. My parents admired her. So much so that when her mother died, she came and lived with us down in southern Indiana. More on that later. I remember her showing me the book, The Painted Bird. I was appalled. It has always stuck in my mind. I marveled at this child who was so dignified, so intelligent, so well read. She knew about things that blew my mind. I remember her telling me about the oob. I was transfixed with fascination. Oob, she explained, was an out-of-body experience. I wanted to have an oob. I desperately tried to no avail. I wouldn't be surprised if she were already having them. She was very spiritual. By the way, I still haven't had one. It was just so wonderful to be around her. I remember with pleasure the scenes of Nancy and me seeing each other on the bicycle path and hurrying towards each other with glee. Sometimes later, when her mom got to trust me a little, I was allowed in the garage to play. We had great times in there, I remember. Nancy had a little book called Isn't It Shocking? Or Shocking Tales, or something like that. I remember looking at it with great interest. She watched patiently. I opened it and zap! It's funny the things you remember and laugh about. I also remember learning about artistic plagiarism. I'm imagining it was around third grade when I saw a painting her artist brother had done and wanted to try to emulate it. I copied it and showed it to Nancy. Her eyes got big with the I'm freaked out look. I learned that day that such behavior was not appropriate. Nancy and I were not fighters. Later as teens we grouched at each other a little, but we never got into physical altercations. Except one time we were playing Mastermind, I think. Anyway, we were getting silly and either over or understimulated and got goofy, and I made a movement to act like I was going to smack her and as a joke, and I accidentally did it. It was horrible. I felt like the biggest piece of crap in the universe. I ended up leaving. We didn't see each other for what felt like weeks. Then one day here she came down the bicycle path. She was wearing an orange shirt, and I made a crack about it. How did I have the gall to do such a thing? But she accepted me back and we were friends again. I loved that orange shirt. When Nancy was around 14, her mother died. It was awful. Her mother was a beautiful, funny, and interesting person. I liked her so much. I only got to see her a couple or so times, but it was pleasant. I remember wearing size 12 cut-off jeans and feeling huge in them, and she was complimentary. That made me feel so good. When Nancy's mother passed, we moved from Indianapolis to Orleans, Indiana. It was horrible leaving Nancy. Soon afterward, maybe within a year, her father allowed her to come and stay with us, and she did for the next 3 or so years. It was hell. And I was the demon. I was too stupid and blind and naive and young to realize what Nancy was going through psychologically. I worried her to death almost. It was a long 3 years, and I am sure it was traumatic at times for her. In my early 20s, my dad's mother, Grandma Camp, pressured me into not being friends with Nancy. I won't go into the horrid details, but it was sad. I can't believe I did that. We were separated for many years because of that, but she was still a sister to me in my heart the whole time. In '97, we moved to San Francisco, and I became a voracious internet user. She found me online, and we were thrilled to be friends again, and for the most part have been. She lives far away, so I don't get to see her anymore, but I miss her horribly. I enjoy being able to converse with her online, though. She's like a sister and deserves mention in this book and about my life. My life would have been totally different without you, Nancy. I love you so much.